Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great day, great afternoon, great night, whatever time you're watching this. So, today's video, I couldn't really think of much. It's been a pretty, snowy January. We've been hit with quite a bit of snow, so I haven't really been doing much today besides playing Hogwarts Legacy. Been trying to finish up an old character and I kind of just started a new one, and, there's not much going on. A lot of stuff got canceled because things were snowed in, and, literally my apartment was at a point to where, I couldn't even leave, so, it's just what happened. But I kind of came up with an interesting idea for today, and I'm gonna do a story time. I'm going to tell y'all the first time I ever did the tango with Mary Jane. Or the first time I smoked weed. And honestly, it was a kind of funny story. So my first time I ever first smoked weed, I can't remember what time of year it was. I think it was either in a November or a February, and the reason I think that is because it was cold. I distinctly remember that, but it wasn't too cold. It was right as, the really cold time was either starting or beginning. I can't really remember, but we were chilling, and my buddy, slash someone I was talking to, it was really a complicated, interaction with this person. But basically, at the time, we were it doesn't really matter. This person came over, and there's going to be two people in the story. So the person who came over, I'll name Jay, and the other person who came over, I'll name Ricky, or who was already there. So two people in the story. Person who came over is Jay, and the person who I was already hanging out with is Ricky. So Ricky and I were already hanging out, and Jay was just kind of in the area, and he was like, yo, do you want to hang out and we can possibly smoke? Well, my parents were gone at the time, and I was living at home, and either Ricky was living with us at the time. It's a whole complicated thing with why Ricky was living with my parents and I, but either Ricky was already there or we were just hanging out. But basically, Jay asked to come over, and I was like, cool, come through and we'll hang out. And Jay offered to smoke, and I was like, well, I haven't smoked before. This would be, kind of a cool time to try it. And I asked Ricky, and Ricky was like, yo, I'm cool with it. So Jay came over, and we were hanging out for a bit, and it kind of took a little bit to finally go down and smoke, because we were trying to decide on a movie to watch before we smoked, funny enough, because we were just trying to preset things. It was my first time smoking, so I wanted something to do afterwards, and we settled on the newest Shaft movie, which has Jesse T. Usher. He's also the same actor that plays A-Train. It also has Samuel L. Jackson, who was another Shaft, and then it also had the original Shaft. So it was just like a trio movie. But it's a pretty funny movie. I had already seen it, and, I just wanted to laugh at the time. And we put that on, and I think a quarter of the way through the movie is when either Jay or Ricky was like, yo, are you ready to smoke? And we all went down to my backyard, and we're chilling, because, not Ricky, wow. Jay had to heat up the bong because we were doing dabs. I know if you're a real smoker or a stoner, you know that was really stupid for my first thing to be dabs. I had no idea at the time. I had a relative knowledge about weed. I knew dabs was kind of gonna be a lot, but I didn't know necessarily how much a lot was at the time. Jay gets the bong heated up, and he gets us ready for the dab. I kind of mess up the first one, so Ricky takes it, and Jay got him lit enough that he had like borderline dragon's breath when pulling away from the hit. It was really funny. We were all laughing. Ricky was coughing and laughing, and you know, he just took a seat on this little container we had at the time and just chilled there for a second. And I finally got my hit, and me too. I had dragon's breath, and I coughed for a hot second, and then I just started laughing. And this has to be my funniest memory of all about smoking, which is literally this. I laughed for what we know I laughed for at least 5 minutes straight, but it felt like I laughed for about 15 minutes. It was either 10 minutes I laughed for or 15. We know I laughed for at least 5 minutes. And it was so funny. We chilled out and we were all just, you know, gauging how we were for a bit, you know, talking through our experiences and whatnot. I think both Ricky and I each took one more rip, if not two for me and just one for Ricky. Ricky kind of started feeling off a little bit, so eventually we start meandering our way inside, and it was really funny because Jay was like, hey, I don't know where the sink is, can you go wash out my bong? And I, of course, being the natural helpful me, was like, of course, dude, I got you. And I take the bong from him, not anticipating that I was going to take forever to get over to my sink. Ricky had to even come help me get to the fucking sink. And Jay is just laughing at us. Just to preface, all the way until we get upstairs, Jay is laughing his ass off at us. And at the time, Ricky said he had smoked before, but I'm telling you right now, with how hard Jay was laughing at us, either Ricky hadn't smoked ever, or this had been like the first time in a long time. Jay was laughing at us so hard, because we were being so stupid, just trying to get to this sink. We finally get to this sink, and this dude's bong is a silicone bong that twists in the center. We could not get this fucker open. And it was actually, after a bit, kind of starting to piss me off, and it was kind of starting to piss Ricky off, so we had to call for Jay to get him to stop fucking laughing, to be like, yo, you need to come fucking open this bong, because we're worried about breaking it. So Ricky finally gets it open, just a little bit, as Jay is on the way too. And Jay had to end up finally coming and opening it himself because I closed it back up by accident. Because this whole time, I didn't describe this until now, I basically was having this experience where time was going a minute into the future and then going backwards. And then going into present, going into the future, going backwards, going to the present. Over and over again. All the way until we went back upstairs. And, you know, I'm also laughing this whole time still. Like, it's like that little chuckle you can get while you're smoking. But I'm just giggling, and it's so funny. It's scary, but it's also so funny. And we finally get the bong cleaned out. We get back upstairs eventually. I don't even know how long it took us to just get inside, clean that, and get upstairs. It felt like a long time. But you know, with weed, you literally don't know what time is. Time doesn't exist with weed. We finally get upstairs, and I felt like I crawled up those stairs legitimately with how long this took. And we get into the living room. I took my seat. I wanted just a seat in the middle of the living room so I could look at the TV and not really be on the couch sinking in, because I knew if I sunk in, I was gonna get comfortable and I potentially might have fallen asleep. But luckily the chair was just comfortable enough to keep me awake and keep me engaged. And I think like there was a good amount of time that passed where Ricky was okay and sitting on the couch too, but eventually he has acid reflux like me, and the weed and the two just didn't mix, and he ended up having to go throw up in the bathroom because he greened out from, smoking too much, and he just ended up having to crash out on the floor. So pretty much for the rest of the night, all the way up until after Jay leaves, Ricky is pretty much going to be out for the little bit left of this story. And so Ricky is pretty much just laying on the bathroom floor, and we check on him every so often, but pretty much for the rest of this, he is checked out. So me and Jay continue watching the movie for a bit, and the whole time, and I don't know how well you guys can see this, but I have my hands on my knees, and I am just staring at the floor. I mean, hardcore, almost like I'm watching the movie, if not, there is something more interesting on the floor. And Jay doesn't know this, but I do, because I'm the one experiencing it. I'm actually watching the whole movie. I can't see, my eyes can't see the movie, but I guess because either I've seen it before or whatnot, but I'm watching the movie while staring completely at the floor, and it was just so funny to be laughing at the movie while just chuckling at the floor. And eventually, either Jay had been looking at me the whole time while that had been happening, or eventually finally saw me, and that's when he decided to check in. But he's like, "You good?" And he did it a couple of times after, but he's like, "You good?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I'm watching the movie." And he's like, "How? You are staring at the floor." I'm like, "Nah, dude, I'm watching the movie." And that's when and I think it's, we all have that, well, maybe not all of us, but some of us have that disassociation thing. And I think that's what happened, is I was just staring at the floor, thinking I was staring at the movie. But it was just so funny. We finally get to a point where I think either Jay was having his own hard time or whatever, or he wasn't really liking the movie. After, I had finally come out of my little funk and I wasn't staring at the floor, and he goes, "Hey, do you want to go cuddle? I'm not really feeling all that great." And a few minutes into that, I'm over it because I'm like, I don't want to be doing this. I wanted to be out watching the movie, having a good time. This is boring as shit. We didn't have music, there wasn't a movie playing, nothing. So I think either Jay caught on to that or something, because I just remember after a bit, either we stayed cuddling or what have. No, I remember. We had cuddled for a bit, and then Ricky finally went and laid down in his room, and I think that's when Jay left, because I frankly don't remember the rest of that night after we went to go cuddle. I know nothing happened between us. I just know that nothing else big happened. I don't even think I finished the movie. I just remember Jay leaving because either I was that's what it was. We had cuddled for a bit more, and I started falling asleep because I was so bored. And sometimes I do that when I'm really bored, and I think when I'm high, it exacerbates that. But when I'm really bored, you cannot keep me awake. I can't stay awake. I will get so annoyed that my brain will just go, "You're tired now." Yeah, that's pretty much how the story concluded. Jay left her after a bit, Ricky went and crashed on his bed, and then I went and crashed out, and I think I finished the movie the next day. The movie is hilarious. I wish I owned it so I could rewatch it. It's so funny. But I hope you guys enjoyed this little story time and, kind of learned something a little bit. If you're going to dance with Mary Jane, don't do dabs first, or don't do a pen first. I know some people have done that. Trust me, it's not a good idea. You should most likely try flour first. Any form of flour is better than a concentrate. It's a concentrate for a reason. It's just like with alcohol. You don't want to do concentrated alcohol first. It can make you sick. So, word to the wise. And, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Peace.